The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
There you go. Troy Warner from the Paracave Podcast is on now. Troy, how are you going today?
Going fantastic, Duckman. A little bit flat, I guess, because there's only 5 games of rugby league this weekend, and I only got 1 right out of 5, so my tipping is up the creek without a paddle. But I am looking forward to Origin on Wednesday night. It is the best football you can watch, so I can't wait for Wednesday night.
Yeah, absolutely. Wednesday night will be bubbling. Don't worry, I'm pretty sure my tips, I think all the NRL sides have done that good a job that my tips might actually be sitting potentially. I don't think I tipped the Eels to beat the Sharks. Pretty sure, hopefully I tipped the Bulldogs to beat the Knights. So definitely didn't tip the Dragons to beat the Panthers. Not too sure about the Raiders beating the Dolphins. And I reckon I didn't pick the Cowboys to beat the Roosters. So at the best, I got 1. At the worst, I got none.
I have tipped a perfect round of 0 once before in a tipping comp, and it's not a good feeling.
Oh, no, yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. When I go back and check the collateral damage on the footy tipping comp later, that's going to set me back a couple of weeks. So it's not good at all. And neither is this either. So Dylan Edwards got a quad injury yesterday, so not a major quad injury. It didn't look like that. He pulled up with quad soreness and take good precautions there. They've let him rest overnight, see how he feels, and still sore today. So Tedesco is in, and now Dylan Edwards is out. That's a pretty big hit there for New South Wales, but Tedesco is a pretty handy substitute to come in at fullback and well experienced being the captain and everything like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a massive blow for Dylan Edwards, who would have made his New South Wales State of Origin debut. But there was a lot of, I guess you could say, talk about this position before the selection of Dylan, whether James Tedesco would have got picked as in this side. A lot of people were saying Dylan should have been there. My personal opinion is I would have went with James Tedesco anyway from the start. So he has come back into the side. He didn't play against the Cowboys today. The Roosters sure could have used him there, as we'll talk about a little bit later. But a big blow for the New South Wales side, but it's still a pretty handy replacement in James Tedesco. And look, he will just have to play his natural role at fullback. He won't have the pressure of being captain, as Jake Trbojevic is the captain of New South Wales, so that's a bonus for him. And look, it also brings up the other point of if he comes out on Wednesday night, James Tedesco, and has a man of the match performance, what do the selectors do for Game 2? Because Dylan Edwards will be fit and ready to go for Game 2, but if James Tedesco has a man of the match, a blinder of a game, what do you do? Do you drop him after that performance, or do you pick Dylan Edwards?
I wouldn't even think he needs to have a man of match performance. I think if he has a good performance, I think you've got to stay with what you've got if New South Wales win. If Tedesco has a bad performance, I'll be surprised if he has a bad performance, right? He's not playing, even when he's not playing his best, he doesn't normally play bad. So unless he played terrible, I'd probably stick with him now. Unfortunately, Dylan Edwards has just missed the boat at the moment. So it's nothing else you can do about it. He's a fullback. Like, I don't think you can pick him on over the wings. I think we've got the best players playing now, playing in the team. So New South Wales, that's the philosophy they want. Going on that philosophy, they might pick Dylan Edwards again. I don't really know. I'd probably stay with who's in the side if it works and get the win and consistent. I like Dylan Edwards, but I'm one for trying to stick with what you got and give it another crack if it works. If different story if Queensland put 30 on New South Wales or something, then you might go, it didn't work, see you later, in comes Edwards. But I don't think that's going to be the case at all. I think it'll be a tight game still either way. So, yeah, tough call on Michael Maguire and his selection team, I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Dylan Edwards, he's won 3 premierships in a row, got a Clive Churchill medal, played in 4 grand finals, represented Australia last year in the Pacific Championships. So he has been Mr. Consistent, but then on the other hand, James Tedesco has been the New South Wales captain, and as you said, even if he doesn't star in the game, he seems to have a pretty reasonable game. The Roosters have been up and down this year, but he has had a pretty steady sort of season this year. So, and I think by memory it could be his 23rd Origin in a row or something like that. It's a ridiculous record, I think, but I think it's his 23rd Origin anyway. So he's certainly getting up there with the Origins, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens if New South Wales win the game. I'm like you. Why change a winning formula, especially in a State of Origin series? If New South Wales do get the win, the only reason you would make changes would be through injury or suspension, I would think. So it's certainly going to bring up an interesting situation for Game 2.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. So we'll have a look at the lineups now. Just before we go through the lineups, I want to announce that Stephanie Clark was the winner of our prize giveaway, 2 tickets for State of Origin. So need to get in touch with Catherine, the station manager here. You can pick them up at Pulse FM between, I think, 8 a.m. and 11:30 or something tomorrow, 1:30 or whatever it is. Check the Facebook page. They'll tell you how to do it. It announces the winner on the Facebook page as well. So congratulations to Stephanie winning that. Thanks to everyone who entered in that competition. So unfortunately, it can only be one winner, and I didn't have to pick the winner, so that is a good thing for me. The State of Origin sides anyway, so to be honest with you, I didn't even know the game was at Sydney this week.
Oh, where have you been living under a rock, Duckman?
Yeah, I have been under a rock. I've got a lot of stuff going on, so like I even lost track. I didn't even know it was June now, right? I still thought it was in May sometime. I've just been completely off kilter with all the different stuff I've been doing. But I thought the game, so I just kept hearing them talk about Melbourne. I thought it was in Melbourne this week, and it's in Sydney in a couple of weeks' time. But there you go. So I found out that's not the case. So the New South Wales side looked like this anyway. Tedesco at fullback, Brian Toto on one wing, along with Zach Lomax, Stephen Crichton and Joseph Suoliti in the centres. Drame Luai at 5'8" there, and Nico Hines a halfback. Jake Trbojevic is the captain and prop. Reece Robson centre as hooker. Payne Haas is the other prop there. Liam Martin, Angus Crichton the second rows, and Cameron McInnes is their lock. So on the bench you've got Isaiah Yeo, who is vice captain. So a pretty flexible, handy option there to come off the bench. Amali Olakawatu is on the bench as well. Spencer Lenu, who said he's going to have a big game in Hudson Young. I think he deserves the spot. He's been playing really good, so Spencer Lenu, despite the fact he's been suspended for having a day. You're happy with the New South Wales side? And is there anyone you think that could or should be in it that's not in it at the moment, including like their extended bench from Matt Burton, Luke Keary and Mitch Barnett?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one, isn't it? As I said just before, I would have probably picked James Tedesco at fullback initially. Zach Lomax on the wing. He's been playing some great footy for St George on the wing, so that's probably a good spot for that. I may have also gone for Josh Adokar as well on the wing there as well, but Zach's got the job there. Interesting selection of Joseph Suoliti as well. I guess with him going to rugby next year, New South Wales just want to win this series. So they're picking the best players at the moment. Obviously, Nico Hines was going to be picked as halfback with Nathan Cleary out, and Mitchell Moses was out at the time as well. Mitchell's now back. So Nico's got that spot there. Reece Robson as well, that was a interesting choice. I probably would have went for Api Coruscant, but the selectors have gone for Reece Robson, so they're sort of two quality. They are two quality players, a little bit different in the way that they play, but other than that, it's probably a good-looking side. Spencer Leniu as well is an interesting one. He had that 8-week suspension in the season as well from that game in Las Vegas. So that's an interesting selection. I guess that's to add a little bit of aggression to this side, and he has come out in the media and said that he's going to take on Queensland. So that'll be certainly interesting to see when he comes off the bench how he actually plays. But a pretty sort of solid squad and players that I guess are in form at the moment. And congratulations to Jake Trbojevic, who takes over as captain now of the New South Wales Blues. I mean, I saw an interview with him just before on the Matt Johns show on Fox, and look, can you... even as a Parramatta supporter, and he plays for Manly, you can't dislike Jake. He's one of the most likeable players in the NRL, so it's great to see him get the New South Wales captain's job.
Yeah, I don't like his head too much. Got a big round head, so other than that, he's all right. So, no, Jake Trbojevic is all right. So, if he gets rid of his 1986 school haircut, it might be even better. So, he's a good bloke. He'll be a good captain, and he gets the job done. So, he's a prop that can get through 60 to 80 minutes with no worries, right? So it's not a guy that's only going to be out there for 30 minutes is a positive step forward. The Maroon side looks like this. So got Reece Walsh fullback, Xavier Coates at 2, Valentine Holmes 3, Hamiso Tabai Fido 4, Murray Tuilagi 5, Tom Dearden 6, Daly Cherry Evans 7, Ruben Cotter 8, Ben Hunt 9, Lindsay Collins 10, Jaden Stewart 11, Jeremiah Nanai 12, Patrick Carrigan 13, Harry Grant on the bench 14, Mikey Oduwaka in 15, got Jermaine Hopgood 16, and Selwyn Cobbo 17. So there are strike weapons all over the place there. They are going to be very hard to play on Wednesday night.
Yeah, for sure. Previous to the selections, I did my selections of both the New South Wales and Queensland sides, and the Queensland side was easier to pick despite them having some big injuries in their squad. Big Tino Fasil Malawi is out for the year, Tom Gilbert as well, and just recently Cameron Munster was out due to a groin injury, so he'll be out for the whole series. So that was one of the positions that was up for grabs, the 5'8" spot. Tom Dearden has got that spot. He's played one Origin, I think, 2 years ago when Cameron Munster was out with COVID previously, so he did a good job there, and he's been one of the Cowboys' best. He was in the race with Ezra Mam as well for that 5'8" spot, but he won out. So pretty much the rest of the squad speaks for itself. I think also an interesting selection there is Selwyn Cobbo on the interchange bench. Now he can play anywhere, pretty much in the back five for Queensland, but it'll be interesting to see how he is used. I think Billy Slater came out the other day, and in the last 3 or 4 Origin games, they've had an injury to an outside back, so I guess that's the reason for his selection there. And look, Harry Grant on the bench as well, that's going to add some spark for this Queensland side. We've seen that work in the previous 2 years with Queensland winning the series. So the Queensland side probably speaks for itself. They will go into this game as favourites, having won the last 2 series, which they probably don't think they deserve that tag. They always claim that they're the underdogs, but they're the favourites. But
yeah, how do you do that this time? Seriously.
That's right. So yeah, a very strong-looking squad, and as you said, strike weapons all across the park.
Yeah, so that's gonna be the big thing, right? So guys, I can see to aim up. Last time Tom Dearden took over from Munster, he had a man of the match performance, right? And really steered Queensland around a couple of years ago now, and they got the win. They needed to get the win. They got the win and won the series on the back of what he did. Ruben Cotter will aim up, so Lindsay Collins will aim up. All these guys, they'll do it all across the park. Patrick Carrigan, even with his man Bunny, will aim up. So Selwyn Cobbo, it's interesting because New South Wales didn't name a back on the bench. If they lose a back, they've got problems, right? And last year they lost the back. I would have carried a back. Even Matt Burton, he would have been in my lineup there somewhere. So if that happens, New South Wales aren't going to have problems. Like Isaiah Yeo, I don't care what you say or what anyone says, Isaiah Yeo and Cameron McGuinness, you cannot drop them into centre or 5'8". They're not going to be able to do it. They're not going to do job, and they're not going to do a terrible job. They're not centres or 5'8". So Queensland really are covered there if they have problems. So, and they've got Ben Hunt as well. Potentially could play in halves if they lose a half. So New South Wales have more problems if they lose a back. So if Queensland do at the moment, they will see what happens on Wednesday night. Let's go back to Thursday. So you'll be cheering after Thursday with the Eels knocking over the top of the table Sharks there, 34 points to 22. So, yeah, happy how the Eels went.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, it was a great return from Mitchell Moses, who had been out for 10 weeks. Gutho also returned after, I think, having 3 or 4 weeks out of the game. And just their presence on the field just really lifted this Parramatta side in front of their home fans. And look, it didn't start too well with Sione Katoa scoring the first try for the Sharks, and but then the Eels scored 2 tries in quick succession, one to Will Penasini and Micah Sivo, and Micah actually ended up getting a double. But after that, it looked like Parramatta were in control of the game. It was 16-10 at half-time, and there was a little bit of a worrying period in the 61st minute. Daniel Atkinson scored a try for the Sharks, and then 4 minutes later, Katoa got his second in his 100th NRL game, and you thought, oh no, is this another second-half capitulation? But the Eels, they held on, and Dylan Brown, he scored probably the match-sealing try, 2 left foot steps, and he was over. So, but a good performance by Parramatta. I think everyone contributed in this win, and it was just a different-looking Parramatta side. Their offload game really stood tall, as they're known for, and it will give them confidence going into next week against the Bulldogs and their arch rivals, and they just need to keep on slowly getting wins and hopefully slowly climb up that NRL ladder.
That's the way to do it, right? So do you think it made a big difference having Clint Gutherson and also Moses back?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, definitely. It just gave, as I said, the other boys confidence knowing that they were there, and Moses was back to his running game. He led to a try to Bailey Simonson down the short side, which he's known for. His kicking game especially, kicked for over 650 metres, and all in the right places as well. Andrew Johnson's come out and said that he's got the best kicking game in the NRL, so that's a huge rap for Mitchell. But yeah, definitely gave them confidence, and it looked like a different side that was playing there. The unfortunate thing was that Blaze Talangi, the fullback that was playing for the last few weeks while Gutho was out, unfortunately was named on the bench but didn't get a run in this game. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets used, although news came out just before we came on air that Bailey Simonson has potentially done, he has a partial tear of his ACL, so he may be out for the season. Scans will confirm that tomorrow, and that will probably mean that Blaze will get definitely more time on the field.
Yeah, that'll be good if he can get time on the field. So, yeah, everything. And more I keep thinking about that, what's happened, and these guys have come back. So people think that Brad Arthur would probably be disappointed because now they've managed to get back. Trent Barrett has now got Mitchell Moses working for him, and Clint Gutherson, who he didn't have for 7 weeks. So he was copping it until he got the flick, and now they're back and they look like Parramatta look like champions again. So what can you do? But right, it's just how rugby league rolls, unfortunately. The next game now, the Knights took on the Bulldogs on Friday. I hope I tip the Bulldogs. I'm not confident I tip the Bulldogs, right? But the Bulldogs won 32 points to 2. Which Knights player was it? Daniel Safidi? Someone headbutted someone in the game. Like, what was going on with that? That was just dumb play.
Yeah, that was Jacob Saifidi. It was near the end of the game, the 78th minute, and he just got very frustrated with Reid Marnie. So he's led with the head. It wasn't quite a headbutt, but it just was ridiculous. It was a stupid piece of play, but I guess at that time in the game they were losing 32-2, and the frustration just came out. And Reid has been known over the last few weeks, especially, as a bit of a pest on the field, and he was getting under the skin of the Newcastle players. I think he had a bit of a run-in with Jackson Hastings as well, and previously in their first game together at Accor Stadium earlier on in the year as well, there was Jack Hetherington. So he has been known lately as a little bit of a pest on the field, and look, it's working in his favour at the moment because these players are getting sin-binned, and he isn't, and Canterbury are winning games. But yeah, that was certainly a piece of play that I think Jacob will want to take back. He can't take that back now. I think he's been hit with a $3,000 fine for that action.
Yeah, there you go. So he won't be happy. He's lucky he didn't get suspended for that. That could have been heaps worse for him. So $3,000 fine. He just needs to keep his cool, otherwise you never know what's going to happen. Panthers took on the Dragons. That was on Saturday night, and another game. Penrith dropped in the rain. They are missing a stack of players. Dragons are missing a few. I thought Penrith might be able to do the business. They were up 10-0 at half time, but Shane Flanagan, by the look of it, has given the Dragons an almighty spray. They come back 22 unanswered points in the second half, so it's a good win for them. Though I would say they'd be fairly close to full strength without Zach Lomax or Ben Hunt. So other than that, they're looking fairly good. Penrith missing, obviously, 7 big players in their side. Yo, Liam Martin, Nathan Cleary, Toto, also, who else we got? Dylan Edwards.
Jerome Luai.
Yeah, and Jerome Luai, yeah. So, there's 6 or 7 guys all up. So, it just hurts when if you took that many players out of any team, that 4, 5, 6 key players, you're going to cripple nearly every team, right, effectively. So,
yeah, definitely.
It's a good result for the Dragons, I imagine.
Yeah, 100% it was. The first time they've won at Penrith since 2017. And they also had Jaden Sewer out as well. He's playing for Queensland in the Origin as well. So they had 3 players out. And when you take your 3 best players out of a team that is down the bottom of the ladder, it makes it very hard for them to win. We have seen with the Panthers, once players step out due to injury or representative duties, that they got that next man up mentality, and I guess a lot of people thought that would continue in this game. They got off to a flying start, 10-0 at half time. Jesse McLean, he scored a great try just before half time, 5 minutes before half time, where he caught the ball pretty much on the full and went over. It was a great try for him. But you're right, Shane Flanagan has done something in the sheds at half time, given him a spray, and straight after half time, Toby Couchman scored a try near the post. Tyrell Sloan scored a try 5 minutes later, and they got that roll on. And the Dragons, they never looked back, and the Panthers just didn't have any answers. It was played in pretty sloppy conditions with the rain coming down all night, and the Dragons got the win, 22 points to 10. They played really well. They would have thought about the game last week against the Bulldogs, where they gave up, I think it was about 30 points in the second half and got flogged by the Bulldogs. So they obviously didn't want to do that again in the second half, but they got the win, and they're sitting in 12th position on the ladder on 14 points. So congratulations to the Dragons on the win.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Dragons will be very happy with that. Penrith can get by with the loss. It'd be frustrating to them, but there you go. So that's just what's happening. Not much can do about that really for the Panthers. It's tough day out for them. If you lose a lot of guys, it's good because it gives the young guys a run now that they wouldn't get otherwise. And those young guys can see where they're at to and up to in their careers. So changing a lot of guys is pretty hard when you lose that many. For anybody's side, Broncos, over the years too, they go through a hard time, State of Origin too, normally. These next guys, the Dolphins up against the Raiders. How close is this one? 26-25 to the Raiders. They'll be super happy about that, Ricky Stewart. The Dolphins will be absolutely spewing. I heard they have 13 field goal attempts at the end of the game or something to try to ice this one.
Yeah, look, this was probably the game of the round, I guess. The closeness of it sort of went up and down a little bit in the scoring wise. Jeremy Marshall-King got the scoring off for the Dolphins with a try. Then Xavier Savage, he caught the ball over the top of Trey Fuller at fullback and scored a try. And it just went like that. It was tries to each side here and there. KO Weeks at halfback for the Raiders, he scored one and was pretty outstanding. Look, it was 18-12 at halftime to the Raiders, but the Dolphins came back in the second half and were leading 25-24 after Jermaine Asako kicked a field goal. But then Jordan Rapana, who has never kicked a field goal in his NRL career, kicked one just before full time to get it all back to 25 all, and then 10 minutes later in Golden Point extra time, he's kicked his second field goal ever to get the win for the Raiders. So look, the Dolphins, they've been going really well. Wayne Bennett wasn't happy with some of the refereeing decisions in his press conference after the game, so we'll just have to wait and see what Graham Annesley comes out with tomorrow about some of his calls about the refereeing, which will be interesting because I think there was one against the Dolphins who kicked a field goal in Golden Point, and it was a penalty to the Raiders for blockers for the field goal attempt. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. But the Dolphins still sit in fourth position on the ladder on 16 points, and the Raiders are also on 16th in 6th place. So it was a good game in wet conditions up there at Redcliffe KO Stadium, and a good crowd turned out, but the Raiders got away with a victory in this one.
Yeah, so what's going on the Raiders' defence this year? They've got minus 37 against their defence. Is not good again. They did this last year too, and it nearly cost them. They nearly missed out on the finals. They got lucky on the last day of the season. They don't want to do that again this year. I think they're going to have problems if they do.
Yeah, they have to tighten up their defence. They are the only side in the top 8 at the moment with a negative for and against. So, yeah, definitely they have to tighten up their defence if they're going to stay in that top 8. Either that or just keep on winning games to get the points. But they can score points, but they're letting in a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And in the last game around here, the Roosters took on the Cowboys, and I was listening to this on my way over to the station today. The Roosters were up, 14-4 at halftime?
Yep.
Was it 14-0 or 14-4?
14-4, yep.
And they bombed it and got run down 18-16. So I was listening to it. Got up 14, got up to 16-4 and then 16-10 and then 16 all. And there you go. They absolutely just cooked it.
Yeah, so the Roosters will be really disappointed that they lost this game. The late exit of James Tedesco to the New South Wales side didn't help them at all. The Roosters went into favourites into this game with the Cowboys having a number of Origin players out, and it was a big game for the Cowboys. They needed to win this game to keep in touch with that top 8. And look, it didn't look too good at the start with, as you said, it was 14-4 at half time. The Roosters were in control, but they failed. The only thing they scored in the second half was a penalty goal. So the Cowboys, they scored a try through Scott Drinkwater in the 53rd minute, and then they scored another one in the 68th. So, and they got a couple of penalty goals, and they even had a sin bin in the 49th minute. Lukey as well got sin bin. So a great win to the Cowboys. There was a ridiculous last minute or seconds play right at the end. The Roosters had the ball, and it just went left to right, to left to right, through the field. Everyone just passing it. I forget who it was. I think it might have been Sam Walker who decided to put a little grubber kick through, but it was obviously picked up by the Cowboys and they won the game. So Scott Drinkwater said on the Matty John show that it was probably the Cowboys' best win of the season, and you'd probably have to agree with that. As I said, the Roosters will be really disappointed that this one got away.
Well, I'm surprised the Cowboys turned up and actually decided to defend hard. So they've done some of the hard work. If they had done that earlier in the season, they might be in a way better position than what they are at the moment. So sitting 13th at the moment, they could really be pushing for top 8 and no dramas at all. But they just can't get. They can get the job done scoring the points. You've got to be able to hold the other team out too. Today they showed some mettle and they got the job done like quite easily, really. So Scott Drinkwater, how close you reckon he'd be on getting in the Queensland side there?
Well, he's a New South Welshman for starters, so
I reckon that'd be pretty hard. But everyone's from Queensland, according to Queenslanders. So.
Yeah. So he's a New South Welshman, so he's probably behind, obviously, Tom Trbojevic, Dylan Edwards, and James Tedesco. So he has been in the squads, the greater squads of New South Wales before, but his name has been mentioned as a possible fullback, but I think he'll find it hard to get into that fullback position. His form of 2022 probably would have got him into a New South Wales jersey, but obviously James Tedesco was the captain then, so he would have been behind him. So he has been mentioned as an Origin player before. I think he'd go alright in State of Origin, but it's just a matter of him trying to crack it for a spot in that team.
Just the same as everybody. There's been lots of players that have been close, like I would have thought Lachlan Coote might have been back in the day, even though Preston Campbell would have been considered. Yeah, there's lots of guys around the trap, so it'd be another one that goes close but not quite there. So I would have thought he might fit nicely into a wing position or something as well. You could utilise him like that, and he can goal kick too if need be. So the NRL table, we'll have a look at it now. So Melbourne Storm are on top of the ladder on 20 points ahead of the Sharks, so both on the same. But Melbourne's got better for and against by 5 points. Parent for third with 100 points differential there, which is the best of everyone. They're on 18 points. Dolphins fourth on 16, along with the Broncos, Raiders there as well. So that's fifth and sixth. Seagulls are in 7th on 15. Roosters 8th and 14 with a much more superior for and against than everybody else. Bulldogs in 9th there, 14 points too. Knights on 10-14, Dragons 11th on 14. So yeah, surprised how the Dragons are rolling at the moment. I really tipped them to be like bottom 2 at the start of the year. I thought Shane Flanagan was going to have too big a job to do, and they were going to have a hard time getting out of the bottom of the comp because it's pretty tight. But a few other sides have inspired me with less hope this year, like South. They're doing their best to try to get to the bottom as quick as they can.
Well, Souths are already on the bottom, so the only way is up.
Don't worry.
Only way
Not
up
necessarily. They're trying to get there and stay there and boat anchor themselves down the bottom. 170 negative for and against tells me they're not going to get off the very bottom anytime in a hurry.
No, but as you mentioned there, the Dragons, they have improved this year under Shane Flanagan. They have been playing some good footy. Hence, they got the win against the Panthers the other night. But I think the Dragons' problem is they win a game and then they'll probably lose a game. So they're a little bit like a roller coaster at the moment. I don't know if they can put a couple of wins together. They've got a game against the Tigers next week, so maybe that might be the time where they get the back-to-back wins. And look, that'll give them some confidence. The Bulldogs in 9th position, I've been saying it on my podcast that they're probably the most improved side of this year, and 6 wins and 1 bye, so in 9th position there's a chance they could make the top 8, and obviously the Dolphins as well sitting there in 4th position there. Wayne Bennett's doing something up there in Redcliffe, magnificent job to keep them in 4th position. We saw last year they had a flying start to their competition, in the competition last year, and then they fell away a little bit. But this will be interesting to see how they go during this Origin period. They've lost 1 game already. See how they go from there on. But they're in 4th position at the moment, and who knows? They may be finals bound for the first time in their history in 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's look at the top 8. Who do you reckon that's in the top 8 now is going to drop out, and who do we expect to see improve greatly? So the Eels sitting in 15th. The Eels won't be 15th. They're They might not make the 8, but they're going to go pretty close if they don't. So I would think the Eels can probably realistically get into the top 8, probably 7th or 8th. I think they've dropped a fair few points now to really reel it back in. They're going to have to go on quite a decent run. So 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th would be realistic in my opinion. The other side outside the top 8 probably can make a run for it. Cowboys maybe might see the Titans improve a bit. Other than that, I think everyone else is fairly settled in the top 8, in my opinion, teams that might drop out. Manly just look like that team, right? So they lost Tom Trebojevic. They look like they're go on a bit of a bad run, and that could go all slippery for them. Not sure what will happen with the Sharks when Nico Hines gets back from State of Origin. If he has a positive experience in New South Wales win, they might kick on. If they don't, that might be a real speed hump for them going forward.
Yeah, well, look, the really interesting thing is teams 4 through to 8, the Dolphins, Broncos, Raiders, Sea Eagles and Roosters have got a bye next week, so they're going to get 2 points regardless next week. So that's a really interesting stat there. The Bulldogs, they play Parramatta. So Parramatta, their next 5 is the Bulldogs, Roosters bye, Newcastle, Rabbitohs. So as a Parramatta fan, I'd like to think that they could win all 4 of those. The toughest game, I'd say, would be the Roosters there in a couple of weeks' time, although the Bulldogs have shown that they can mix it with the best, so it'll probably be a big crowd there. The Cowboys, they've got the Warriors next week. That'll be a tough game for them because the Warriors, again, are another side that have had a couple of wins in a row. They had the bye this week, so they had the bye next week. They had the bye this week, sorry.
Yeah.
And so that they're a team that are outside the 8 that will need to go on a run and get and get into that top 8. So maybe the Warriors, Eels and Cowboys, maybe the teams that get into the top 8. As you said, Parramatta, they may go close if they don't get in. Teams that may drop out, well, it probably could be the Raiders and Sea Eagles. But look, this is, we say it every year, this is one of the tightest competitions every year, and it just shows you that it is at the moment as well. So just have to wait until round 27, I guess, to see who's going to get into that top 8.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I think a couple of sides could get into the 8 that aren't in it now. Parramatta will probably be the best chance outside of it, even though they're right down the bottom of the comp, because they've got probably the best roster out of the sides not in the top 8, and then probably the Cowboys. So that'll mean someone's going to drop some form and go on a bit of a flat run. Penrith aren't going to be at the top of the tree forever, right? And I'm a Panthers fan, but I'm also realistic that they're just not going to sit up there forever. So the tough times they're going to go through at the moment, probably not too bad. When's the second State of Origin game anyway? So like the first one's this Wednesday. How many weeks till the next one?
3 weeks usually. And I'll see if I can find out when it is. But yeah, 3 weeks, I think the difference is between Origin games. They'll play, the Panthers will probably play a couple of games. But yeah, a real testing period for the Panthers, obviously with their Origin players involved in the series. So the next game is Game 2, Wednesday, the 26th of June, down at the MCG in Melbourne.
Yeah, so Penrith have got a bye that weekend. There's been quite a few Origin sides got byes that weekend, and then obviously the last one, by the look of it, Penrith's got a bye again around about the time. I think the last one must be around about the 15th of July or something like that. So somewhere around then. Yeah,
so the byes for the most Origin players in their sides, they've been pretty handy for them, and they get them at a good time. Round 16, so that will be of the week of Origin 2, and then round 19 the Panthers get a bye, so it's relatively close together there. So that's Origins 2 and 3. that they'll have a bye. So that'll be an interesting period for them, a challenging one at that as well, without Nathan Cleary, the biggest name there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think they need to try to work. I don't mind that Nathan Cleary is going to be out now. Better off to have him out and work with it and get your combinations going, like what happened when they had Sean O'Sullivan there before he went to the Dolphins. They did a pretty good job. So pretty sure that Jack Cole and co, everyone that's there, are going to be able to step up for it. We'll see what happens. What have you got on for a Paracay podcast this week, Troy?
So I'll have a replay chat of this one coming up this week. I've also currently got running a interview with a gentleman by the name of Robert Driver. He is a American rugby league fan. He supports the Parramatta Eels, but also does have a little soft spot for a couple of other teams as well. He actually prefers the NRL and AFL to American sports, so it's an interesting take on his support of rugby league. Also, I'll have the tipping podcast come out on Tuesday night. I don't know if people want to follow my tips, as I got 1 out of 5 this week, so I can only offer a suggestion, so I'll have that out. I'll try and get a Origin preview out with some former Origin legends. I'm going to try and get that one out as well. If not, it'll just be my Origin preview before Wednesday. So plenty coming out next week, and another new interview-based podcast on Thursday, this time with former Bears coach Peter Louis.
Oh, here we go to have a chat to. I'll be looking forward to that. So Peter Louis was a good coach and helped get them to the semi-finals in, trying to think, it was in the early 90s, so and mid-90s. Did a pretty good job with Norths when they picked up Jason Taylor, and really helped make them a very competitive team. So unfortunately, I think he was the last coach too to have the Bears before they folded out of the comp.
Yeah, so they made a couple of prelims in a row late in the 90s. I think he took over in 95, I think it was, and coached till it could have even been earlier than that. I have to double check, but he coached them till 99, left before the end of the season, and then went to the match review committee, I think it was, in the NRL, and he's also been the referees coach as well, or part of the referees coach as well, I think it was. So it was interesting to hear that story. So and also obviously did a little bit of coaching at Parramatta as well in the 80s with John Money. So an interesting insight into that as well.
No, 100%. That would have been a good experience I didn't know about back in the day, so I'm making sure I catch that one. Troy, thanks for joining us tonight. Before you go, I just want to shout out one thing to all Queensland fans out there. I don't particularly like you very much, so New South Wales are going to win. Thanks for coming. If you don't like it, 0434 440 553. Tell us what you think, why you think Queensland's going to win, why, if you think Queensland's going to win, you live in New South Wales, so I'm interested to know all of those answers. So, and send it through, like I said, courtesy of the Duckman. I've got big shoulders, so happy to take the hate mail. It's all good. I genuinely think New South Wales can win. Queensland realistically are favourites, but I think they've probably got the wood on New South Wales moment, but I like that New South Wales have actually picked a form team, playing good in form at the moment, so hopefully we'll get the best results possible for this game on Wednesday night. And Queensland, we don't like it. We hope we'll win.
Well, Duckman, thank you very much for having me once again, and I do agree with you on one thing here. Come on, the Blues, let's go. Let's beat the Maroons.
Yeah, let's beat them. So it was Maroons. The people in New South Wales that go for Queensland, do any of them live in Queensland? No one that I know. I don't even know anyone's born in Queensland that lives in New South Wales that goes to Queensland. So they confuse me. I'm a little bit confused about why they go for Queensland. So maybe they need to see a map, but there we go. Anyway, thanks for coming on, Troy, and look forward to on Wednesday night watching the Blues take it up, and hopefully they get the win.
No worries. Thanks, Duckman. Go the Blues.
Yeah, absolutely. Go the Blues.
Thank Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.